Rev up your engines!
There's a company that says they're going to make a $25,000 solar-powered electric SUV. It's a German company called Sono Motors, and they're making the Sono Scion. Now, I think Toyota would probably want to sue them because Scion, the Toyota Scion is S-C-I-O-N, but the German one is S-I-O-N. Who knows? Sounds the same to me, right? Now, of course, solar energy you can catch from solar panels on the roof is limited, right? So what's the catch with this German one? Well, the German Scion is covered bumper to bumper in solar cells. And they say, if it's really sunny outside, that it can extend the battery range 70 miles a week. And if it's really, really sunny, or say you live on the equator, it can say up to 150 miles in perfect sunny conditions. So if you had a short commute, it could mean you never have to plug in again. Now, if you look at a picture of this thing, it looks like, you know, it's got that black matte paint. No, it doesn't. Those are rolls of solar cells. Rows of them that are embedded in the car. Now, Sono claims they spent 5 years perfecting an injection molding process where they can get the cells into the injection molding on the body. So they have scratch-resistant, dent-proof polymer panels that have the cells built in. Interesting idea. Now, how do they keep the price low? Well, turns out the Germans aren't even making them. They're outsourcing production to Valmet Automotive, which is a Finnish company in Finland. And it only comes in one style with no options. And they say you can have it in any color you want as long as it's black, just like Henry Ford originally said of the Model T Ford. And they're going to sell directly. Consumers won't have any dealerships that we're ripping people off and marking it up. Not a bad idea if they can pull it off. Now they say that 20,000 Europeans have already put down a refundable $2,000 deposit on these things. So we'll see what happens. Now, it is on a startup company. They're already making money selling retro solar kits to put on buses and heavy-duty trucks to create electricity. So, hey, pretty interesting idea. They can make something like that for 25 grand if it really does work. Here's one thing you gotta worry about. Don't get in an accident. Your whole car's all wired together and it gets in a wreck and smashed. I imagine we'd short the whole thing out. You'd really be back to square one. Goodbye car. The whole thing would be shorted out, right? But it's an interesting idea to start out. We'll see how far it goes with these Sonos characters in Germany. Ed Brumley says, how do I find a real mechanic like you? Okay, make a time machine, go back in time. Yeah, when I was a young teenager, my grandfather, a lot of real good mechanics around. But unfortunately, today, everybody wants to get rich quick. Nobody wants to work hard. They don't want to get their hands dirty anymore. And you might say, Scotty, your hands aren't dirty. Yeah, it's because I wear gloves. My wife doesn't like me touching her with dirty hands. So years ago, she bought me these gloves. And now I use the surgeon's gloves. Only I get mechanic ones that are thicker and have a big cuff. You get cuts and stuff, acids, chemicals don't get in your skin that can absorb in your body and give you cancer later on. My grandfather's a mechanic. He died of cancer. Hey, you want to stay away from that stuff. But it's a dirty job, and if you work for somebody else, they'll make most of the money and you won't. So it's very hard to find a good mechanic these days because good guys, a lot of them won't go into the field because of that. They don't want to spend a bunch of money on tools and then get paid a little bit of money. You got to look for independent guys like me, and we're being squeezed. You know, small guys, you got to pay all the taxes and everything. And you don't get the write-offs big corporations have. So, unfortunately, it is hard to find a good mechanic. But you can watch my video, How to Find a Good Mechanic, Scotty. It'll give you more tips. And ask your friends, but ask your friends who know about cars. A lot of people don't. And if you ask somebody who doesn't know about cars, which in the past, I kind of laughed when I was on TV in Houston. I say, oh, this guy's got a really good mechanic. I'm like, that guy's known as the biggest crook in town. Well, how did you meet him? Well, we go to church with him. I'm like, make sure it's somebody who knows a little about cars when you ask who their mechanic is. Carlos says, Scotty, what do you think of the GR Toyota 3 cylinders? All right, interesting technology. I haven't yet to see one yet. So, on that vein, if anybody out there in Rhode Island or Tennessee has a new Toyota GR 3-cylinder, please bring it to me. I'll take you out to lunch. I'll buy you a birthday cake. I want to try one of those things out. Now, the technology is phenomenal. A lot of horsepower of a 3-cylinder engine. And it's Toyota, right? But, on the other hand, most 3-cylinder engines made throughout history were failures. They didn't hold up that long. You get a little bitty 3-cylinder, you turbocharge them, you get all kinds of horsepower out of them. Who knows how long they're going to last? I am not a guinea pig. I won't be a guinea pig. Now, who knows? Maybe 7 years from now, I'll find a good used one and they prove that they were great and I'll buy one cheap. Yeah, okay, that's how I roll. I can't really say other than the technology is interesting. We'll see if the things hold up over time or not. And I wouldn't be a guinea pig, especially at the prices they're getting for. Edwin says, Scotty, how many potholes does it take to mess up your suspension system? Well, it depends on how deep they are and how fast you go through them. You go through a real deep one fast, you can ruin it going through one pothole. Of course, it's accumulative over time. You hit more potholes, things start to fall apart, they wear out faster. Of course they do. Now, if you are going to an area where you know there's a lot of potholes, just go slow. Like when I go to the beaches here in Rhode Island, and I know there's potholes everywhere, especially the gravel roads to the beach, I just go really slow, you know? You should go slow at the beach anyways. There's kids running around, right? The faster you go, the deeper the hole, the faster they're going to wear. And I've seen people hit one pothole, ruin a car, bend the rim, bend the control arm if they hit it hard enough. You don't want to go through deep potholes fast. You want to either go around them or go really slow. Legend said, Scotty, should I replace my PCV valve for preventive maintenance? I have an 07 Honda Ridgeline. Sure, why not? It's what? 16 years old. That's old. Change it, right? But here's the thing. Don't go to a discount auto parts store and buy it, because I've had people do that. Then the check engine light comes on, because they sell cheap Chinese junk at most of those places. Look at the boxes, made in China, right? Go to the Honda dealer and buy the OEM, or go to Amazon and buy an OEM one. Do not buy an aftermarket PCV valve, because it's very critical how much air they suck, and if they're wrong, check engine light will come on, you'll have all kinds of problems. Get an OEM one, do it yourself. It's not hard to do, but don't get one of these cheap aftermarket ones. You'll probably regret it. 935 Snake says, what do you think of an 08 BMW X5 4.8? Do you think it's a reliable car? Well, yes, it's reliable that it will break down and cost you a fortune in the future if you buy one of those things. I knew a TV anchor made a lot of money. He got rid of his. He said, this thing's driving me nuts. It breaks all the time. It costs too much money. And this guy was making like $400,000 a year back in the day when it was a lot more money than it is today. So, no. If you value your money, do not buy that vehicle. It's one of the biggest money pits out there are the German SUVs. They're giant money pits. I mean, it's how those things are. The maintenance high, the parts are high, and they got all this plastic crap. But when they get older, and that thing's starting to get older, guess what? The plastic cracks. You might think, oh, the plastic crack. Plastic's cheap. Plastic BMW parts aren't cheap. They cost a fortune. Alexander Vladka says, would you recommend an injection cleaning service when you replace the spark plugs? Well, here's the thing. Injectors can last a really long time. You buy good gas, change your oil regularly. A lot of times you don't do anything to it. I didn't do anything to my Celica with 240,000 miles, Matrix with 100,000 miles, my wife's Lexus with 90,000 miles. I've never touched them, and they still run like clocks, right? First, take out the spark plugs and look at them. If they're clean, there's no carbon buildup, and they have the nice whitish gray color to them, they're fine. Don't waste your money cleaning it. But if they're spotted with burnt carbon and stuff, sure, definitely clean them then. You don't need to clean them very often when you do. You know, a lot of people, oh, I put a can of cleaner, and every time I fill it up with gas, you just pissing your money down the toilet then. Don't. You don't need to do it. You get a good cleaner, yeah, once every few years is probably all you ever need to do it. But if you look at the plugs first, you'll be able to see. It's worn, yeah, I'll clean it. But they're not. They're just old, but they don't have carbon buildup, and they're not weird colors with spotted dots on them. You don't have to bother. Craig Husted said, are new GMC commercial vans reliable? Well, that's a very interesting question. And, you know, I don't like GM products. You've been watching me any length of time. But here's the thing. Their commercial division is different. So you're talking about GMC, not GM, even though it's really the same company. They make higher quality things. You can pick what kind of transmission. But the commercial vehicles are much better than their non-commercials. Like, I would never buy a 1500 Silverado. They're junk these days. Guy the other day brought me one. He was on his fourth differential, wore out on it. Just junk, right? The 2500s and up, the GMCs, they're excellent vehicles. No, they're not bad. You know, you want a big truck, they all get horrible gas mileage. Expect that with a big truck, but those are good. The big ones, not the little ones. That says, Scotty, what's the purpose of a knock sensor? All right, car parts at least always tell you what they do. They make sense, right? The knock sensor is a piezoelectric circuit, and if your engine starts to knock, it retards the ignition timing so the engine doesn't knock. It's called pre-ignition. It's firing before it shouldn't it knock, so it retards the ignition so it fires later, and so it doesn't make the knocking anymore. And it's a safety and pollution device, right? The scumbags that make a bunch of these V6 engines, they hide them under the intake, so you got to take the top of the engine apart in order to change the sensor. That's the way most of these things go. If you got a 4-cylinder engine, no big deal. They usually, you can do it in 10 minutes on both to put it in. But the V6s, they make it so it's a real pain to change those sensors. But that's what they work for. Now, I've had customers where the knock sensors, the code came out because the sensors broke, but they run perfectly fine otherwise, and they drove them years that way and didn't hurt anything. As long as their engine is knocking, they use good gas, it doesn't really matter. Of course, here's the other problem. If you live in an area with the emissions testing, you got a knock sensor code, you can't get your car inspected because you got to replace it, and you got to take your engine apart if it's a V6, spend a whole bunch of money to appease the thought police that said you can't drive a car that way. That's not right. You can drive them that way years, doesn't hurt anything. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.